starting to replay a little earlier in here. Remember, just to let you guys in the VODs know, we do not have Zero here, so I don't have all the fun transition stuff that he does. So we're going kind of normal style here. But anyway, this is Day Night Show Matches. This is Tinkertonk versus FlufflyFlow on Habitation Station. Let's get this started. Presuming that it loads. Let's hope that it loads anytime. Starting now, hopefully. In the top right, we have, sporting the orange, it is FlufflyFlow, our Terran player. His opponent, subbing in for blank, also known as Orchid Greens, who is unfortunately nowhere to be found today, we have the pink Tinkertonk. Sports the random, and he got Zerg. He swears that it's a conspiracy. Now, Tinkertonk has stated, as a random player, that his best matchup is by far his Terran, with his Zerg as his second. And I'll let you know right now that this being Habitation Station means that it's filled with gold minerals. And because it's filled with gold minerals, that can probably tell you right now what Tinkertonk plans on doing. Just remember, Baneling, bad unit. FlufflyFlow, not a fan of the Baneling. Is a fan, however, of CM Storm. So I was able to put them on that team. Thing with SK Telecom. So we got their logo sported over here, but don't worry, no, they're not actually on that team. Blizzard Entertainment League, of course. Blizzard Entertainment. Shout out to them for making a fantastic game. Overlord just wandering across the map, confirming that there is in fact an Ultralisk spiked in the middle of the map for whatever reason. Protoss really do not like their Ultralisk opponents. Really want to just make that as clear to everybody as they possibly can. A little bit of a quiet day in the chat today. Understandable, it is a Saturday in the middle of the day. Drone has gone down to low ground to get that fast expansion off. Hatches come out. This SCV is no doubt going to be watching to see that spawning pool come down. Don't think he's going to be seeing that though. As I said, Tinkertonk loves the gold minerals here. He's going to try as much as he can to go for, most likely go for hatch before spawning pool. And I think FlufflyFlow picked up on this. He saw a drone leaving, and he's trying to follow it. Unfortunately, it's gotten out of his sight radius, so I think he suspects what's going on. The SCV is, yeah, he's actually following it up to the third location. He's going to see this go down. There's the hatchery. It's planted right at the gold base, and FlufflyFlow sees it. Oh boy, I think we both know what's coming up here. That is in fact a gold base, and we're going to probably be seeing some crazy aggression coming out here. Of course, for the Terran, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he wants to go for something similar and ends up just grabbing a bunch of bases as well. Spawning pool coming out here. Now the thing is, go for quad. FlufflyFlow trying to egg his opponent on, get even more bases. Now the thing is, this particular build is very vulnerable to very early attacks. FlufflyFlow is aware of this, but just because he has the possibility of going for an early attack, it seems that Fluffy is quite alright to just go for a fast command center of his own, try and catch him in some economy. I wouldn't be surprised though if he takes this base and tries to plant it over here. With these gold minerals, is going to give the ability for the Zerg to do a lot of pressure early on without really sacrificing any economy at all, just because of all the extra minerals, and he'll be pulling in, be able to grab a lot of Zerglings without really hurting himself too much, except obviously in the drone count. Alright, sorry, I got a little bit distracted there because I wanted to make sure it wasn't... I just heard something on Skype and I wanted to make sure it wasn't Fluffy. Not Fluffy, I'm sorry. Blank just messaging me and being like, hey, yeah, I can play after all. But thankfully it is not the case. I do believe that's Mr. Burt, who I was asking to sub potentially. Did not get back to me in time, so he's not subbing. However, if he does pop in the chat or watch the VOD, shoutouts to him. He's a pretty cool guy. Immediately starting to saturate this natural as well as grab a spawning spine crawler down here on the low ground. It seems that Tinkertonk anticipates some fast aggression. FlufflyFlow's like, I'm just going to play normally because I bet you. And I'll be honest, I don't think this is actually a bad move at all. Because, I mean, how often do you get to play with gold minerals? How often is a person going to have the ability to actually spend all of that money, you know? First couple times they do this. Map's super new, too. And there's no way Tinkertonk's really gotten this down the line. He's anticipating that he might be getting a lot of aggression thrown at him, so he's grabbing 2 bunkers at the front here, and he's just going to go for his normal build, knowing that he can macro that as well as he possibly can. I think this is a very smart move coming here from our Terran player. Grabbing stim early, 2-3 barracks. It's going to get a lot of Marines out for that defense. In the meantime, we can see that Tinkertonk's kind of going for the same thing, grabbing a lot of drones and really just going for as strong as an economy as he can possibly get, as fast as he possibly can. Saturation on this base does not take all that long. Generally, to let you guys know, full saturation is what this number says up here, but it's a little bit deceiving. Full saturation is usually not what you want on a base. You want 2/3 saturation, only because that way you don't mine out the base too quickly. If you, say, have full saturation up here, go all the way up to 24 drones, you'll be still taking in more minerals, but you will not be, would love to say, watch for doing matches versus Otter. Okay, Frogs, salute to you, sir. Thanks for hanging out, and hope to catch you later. Anyway, as I was about to say, these minerals down here, nice and spread out, as you can see, but if you max out the workers on there, you mine out really, really quickly, and then you'll find yourself in the position where you have to double expand in order to keep up, and that could be a little bit awkward. So a lot of players tend to avoid that instead of going to that max saturation. Now, with golds, obviously, you kind of want to get as much as you can out of them as fast as possible, so I can kind of understand this in this particular situation. Okay, guys, how's everything look on stream? Anybody who's actually watching? I don't know if you're still here, Frogs. Thanks for popping in, by the way. But, in all, just any problems, do let me know. I'll try to fix them before the next match. Wall is going to be completed here in just a moment. He's actually queued this supply depot up with this SCV, meaning that the wall is actually going to be open for quite a bit here. But I think he's correct in determining that he's got no attacks coming in the short term. There's a Baneling Nest coming out, though, and I don't believe speed has been researched just yet. +1/+1 coming out from the Zerg player, grabbing those ranged upgrades, usually an indication that the player wants to go for something more like Hydras or Roaches, rather than the more ground-based Mutila Ling compositions, which usually go for a +1 ground attack. And I'd say that's pretty common in the show matches. Usually people only go for what I would say to be the kind of like the Roach Hydra or the Mutiling combinations. Very, very strange to see anybody go for the early ultras or swarm hosts or infestors. Though I have seen it happen though. And Tinkertonk is known for being a player that loves unusual things, whether they be effective necessarily or not. And we'll see how much further he's thought past this grab these bases as fast as possible plan. He's grabbing the Spire as well. This is most like... Okay. My analysis was completely wrong. I just realized. I'm like, there's a Baneling Nest here. There's no way he's not going to Muta. Most because he would be grabbing a Roach Warren before now if you were actually going to go for the Hydra Roach combination. So this is actually a little bit of a strange choice then. Oh, infantry armor and +1/+1 for the Terran section just about to finish, as you can see there. Lovely benefit of the game heart interface to actually give you this notification on the right side like that. But as I was about to say, like, this is actually a little bit strange then, because most of his units are not going to benefit from this unless he's actually going for Mass Queen Muta or something weird like that, which he totally could be, judging by the fact that there's 9 queens right here. Okay, I think we know what he's planning. I gotta say right now though, going for a really big low tier unit ball is actually very good against this, because all the DPS that you can build up with the Marines is eventually going to be capable of just one-shotting the queens, and then who cares about transfuse at that point. Ground carapace and missile attacks is now complete. Flyer attacks coming on. Is he actually researching that yet? Nope, but he's about to finish Baneling speed. +2 ground attacks also about to come out. Makes, again, I guess it does make a lot of sense given that these are queens. And as well as a bunch of Mutas to top this off. This is actually a very scary combination if you think about it. The Mutalisk's capable of poking into the back of the completely unprotected main base here of the Terran, doing some damage while the queens put pressure on the front. If you can control this properly, it'll be really, really, really dangerous. Moving across the map here, as you can see, these Mutalisks actually moving into position. There's an Overseer morphing as well, just in case he needs that scan ability. The Mutalisks come in, delay the production of the barracks, as well as doing a pretty good job on the workers here. There's virtually no reaction, no attempt to pull the workers, and the Mutalisks are able to kill 9 without taking any real damage. So that's extremely well controlled there from Tinkertonk, trying to get more of that economy edge that he's honestly already taken for himself just because he's picked up this gold base. Moving in to harass the gold base from FlufflyFlow, forcing that command center to move back toward the army. The army is actually positioned now to cover the command center as it floats back to the base, but Tinkertonk's already aware of this, and he's moved his units out of the way before they can end up in range of the Mutalisk. So holy crap, that looks hilarious. Stronger color mod, if you turn this on with the Banelings, it gives the team color to the Banelings, but apparently with light pink, it turns them into fireflies, which is awesome. Pink fireflies just hanging out down there. I gotta say, this is turning into a pretty scary situation for FlufflyFlow. He really wants to hold this base. This Baneling Queen army may actually become a really big issue here if he doesn't split properly against it, or if he doesn't take most of the hits on the Banelings on the Marauders. If he can do that, he should be alright. It's still going to be a little bit difficult here, especially given that this is not a planetary fortress. I like the orbital idea because it's very economy focused, but it's actually going to be very, very difficult to hold, I think, against all of this. Really, again, I think it's going to go down to how well the Banelings do. I mean, the Queens themselves, there's so much damage in this army that they're not going to matter, I think, too much in this fight. Could be wrong about that. It's not every day you see a mass Queens game, so maybe I'm got my analysis wrong here. But my gut feeling tells me that it's probably going to be more dependent on this part of the attack than this part of the attack. One thing I will say, though, mass creep spread. Check that out. Look at all those creep tumors just moving across the map, getting this creep spread all the way to the front of the Terran's base at, what, 15 minutes? This is incredibly good for a game that is not above gold level. It's incredible. +2 attacks actually just about to finish for the Terran here. He's going for the move out. A chunk of the forces at the front. Banelings mostly running into a chunk of the army, actually not able to do, I think, enough damage on it, but here comes the rest of the Banelings, and that's going to be enough to really push the army back. I don't care how good your splitting is with that many Banelings, though. The rest of your army is going to be going down. Decent number of Mutalisks to engage. On top of that, Banelings aren't even all dead yet, and now they have actually turned to go up into the main base. But luckily enough, or perhaps unluckily, all the mules were there, and there's no actual SCVs, so he's really taken too much damage from that. Unfortunately, he's now in an incredibly scary position from an economic standpoint. An opponent not only having the gold base with full saturation on it, not only having mined it almost completely, giving him now a very nice mineral bank, but he also has a 4th base that's going to be coming up pretty soon as well. Mutalisk trying to move in for an attack up there. There's a missile turret, however. The Mutalisk numbers have gone down tremendously as a result. I would say at this point this is a little bit scary in that there isn't really much that the Terran has to worry about now with only 3 Mutalisks on the field. There are 5 more coming out, but that may be enough time for FlufflyFlow to catch up a little bit. He did get a lot of minerals from that gold patch down there, I think. Can't click on them anymore, unfortunately. So I imagine one other side benefit of this, really, that you probably don't think about too much, is just how much minerals you can get from this. Means you don't need as many drones as you would normally get. You notice that Tinkertonk is actually at 57 right now, and his economy really isn't any weaker, despite the fact that there's still this one drone just hanging out, having the longest coffee break. I don't think he's ever worked at all. He's that guy on the group project. He's that guy who's like, yeah, I'll make that for you, and then he just doesn't. Just doesn't. And he doesn't, and all the way up until the end. And sometimes you get that really hard-working, vindictive person who's just like, dude, this guy didn't do anything, and he says it during the last presentation in front of the guy. Small ball, Marines and Marauders trying to move out to the front, going to kill a lot of Zerglings, maybe a few Queens in the process. But unfortunately, there's all the Banelings, and here comes the kind of response to the move out. Down go all the Marines. The Banelings are simply too much, and there's basically nothing here to hold this off anymore. Banelings are going to do a number on this wall when they finally do make contact with it, which is going to happen after enough Zerglings finally die. There you go. Zerglings are down. The rest of the Marines fall. Whoa, a bunch more Marines dying on top of that. Sorry about moving at the edge of the screen there. I'll be sure to turn off the scroll thing after this game is done. And now the Natural is going to be pretty much out of here. Really needs to be careful. Well, I think at this point he's probably just losing army so he can get to the GG. There you go. I was going to say, like, at this point, if he was really trying to hold out, he'd be gathering his army at the top. Anyway, there you go. That's game 1 going to Tinkertonk.